Is Ottava better than the DaVinci 5? This is a question I've been asked since Ottava has been launched. I think the more sensible question that I get asked by half the people is, how does Ottava compare to DaVinci 5? How does it compare from a console, from a bedside unit, from a tower, or from the instruments? So over the next 4 videos, I'm going to deep dive into that. I've already done my videos, which you can check out on my channel, which talks about the Ottava from what I can see. Based on those videos, I am now going to take the highlights of what I've learned about the system and I'm going to compare it directly head to head with DaVinci 5. I don't want to say whether it's better or worse or not. I'm just going to give you the facts and then you can decide for yourselves. Let's dive straight in. Right, let me dig into the consoles, part 1. So, we are going to cover in the next 4 videos the console, the bedside unit, the tower, and then the instruments that go on here. Both systems side by side there. You can see they both have a console that looks similar, and I'll go into that now. They both have some form of bedside unit. This is a boom that stands next to the bed and hangs down. This is the arms integrated into the bed and comes up, and I'll talk about that in detail. And then you've got their towers, which I think is a very important thing and probably one of the biggest differentiators. But you've got your towers, and I am not going to talk about the different telestration systems, and I'm not going to talk about the polyphonic in this set of videos. Let's dive straight into the consoles. In case you're wondering, just in case you can't tell the two apart, the one on the left here is the Johnson & Johnson Ottava, and the one on the right is the DaVinci 5. And yes, you may quite notice they are sort of almost identical looking in many respects. So they have a viewfinder closed cockpit up here that you put your head into. That can be adjusted for rack and reach and pivot. Both have the same. There's an armrest and then 2 haptic arms that you control the robot with pinch fingers, and they're almost the same. And then you have a foot tray down here with the different pedals on it, which are almost the same. They're almost the same size. They look like on paper they're almost the same weight. Not a lot to put between them, honestly. They're almost identical. You got to wonder who was looking at whose designs in this process, and were surgeons either asking for the same things, or was it that somebody was talking across the teams as they came to see their different developments? I don't know, no idea, but they've ended up surprisingly close. Now, what I will say is though, the first company to bring one of these out that looks like this with the headset up there was actually Medicoroid and Hinatori, and it was ahead of both of them. But it looks like there's a convergence of styles now going towards this kind of console where you have the rack reach and pivot headset so you can get nice and ergonomic with your neck nice and straight. The 2 haptics, very open, and a very similar pedal tray. So again, just on the rack and reach, how do you do that? Well, both systems have a very similar system. They have a rotate button and up, down, left, right button to get rack reach and angulation. Both surprisingly similar again, both surprisingly in the same position. One difference is that Intuitive also has it on the left hand side, whereas I don't see one on the left hand side of Ottava. You can adjust the height of the armrest, you can adjust the height of the pedals, the reach of the pedals. Both have handles that are very similar, both hand pieces similar with the same finger pinches, which I'll show you in detail. Both have some kind of hooks to hang cables off. Both have wheels to move the system around. Amazingly, coincidentally, incredibly similar. What can I say? Almost identical. But what it means is that if you like the position of the DaVinci, then you are going to like the position of the Ottava, and like vice versa. Is there anything amazing in their design of Ottava that it just becomes an immediate DaVinci killer? No. But does it mean that anyone who can use a DaVinci 5 could easily go and use an Ottava? Probably yes. And let's talk about that in a bit more detail, because it's uncannily the same in all details. So even if you're looking here at the headsets, okay, you've got twin eyes, so you can look right eye, left eye. It's a binocular vision. You've got some kind of headrest pad. They've got a headrest pad. They've got 2 eyes. There's a microphone in there. There's probably a microphone in here. There's speakers in here. There's speakers in here. There's an infrared beam splitter with an infrared beam splitter, so that's the way that you do the safety. You put your head in and it registers your heads in, so it will allow you control of the instruments. If you bring your head out, it disconnects. Very, very similar. Design cues, pretty similar, you know, a little bit different in terms of some of the design, but Macro, the designs are the same. You know, the same sort of haptic arms here with the finger grips with finger loops and a finger clutch on top. The same. The fact that you've got a induction phone charger in here versus a slot phone charger there, not a big difference, but they're obviously both thinking about using the phones with the systems. Got to start wondering whether people were cross-talking between teams here. I don't know, but it feels very much like a lot of people knew what was going on in each other's teams, or it's an amazing coincidence. Or what it's probably more likely is, this is the most logical conclusion of where you go with a console in 2026. It's the logical thing. Of course, rack and reach up here is logical. Phones, logical. The finger controllers, if that's what everyone's used to, logical. Let's dive in on those a little bit. So you can see here there are finger loops that you put your fingers through so that you can do force spread as well. There's a finger clutch on top, so you hold thumb in the left hand, middle finger in the right hand loop, and your index finger goes on top for the clutching. That's the correct way to hold these systems. You look at the joint systems, they've probably all got little joints, they're probably Maxons or something like that, that drives backwards so they get gravity compensation. Then when you give even more power to it, you end up driving backwards against the user, which is force feedback. We know it's turned on in the DaVinci 5. We're not sure if it's going to be turned on in the Ottava, but I have a sneaking suspicion it will, because no one is going to get away with not having force feedback in the near future. And again, just looking from a design point of view, physics is physics, right? So this joint is this joint. This is the little motor part in here, the little motor part in here, the same. These got the same joints here, the same joints here. You know, slightly different design, slightly different design. Finger design almost identical, length almost identical. Finger clutch up here, finger clutch up here. Yeah, it's really hard to put a business card between them. Yeah, I couldn't decide, you know, is one better than the other? No. Is one going to feel different than the other? No. Does that mean that Ottava is an absolute destroyer of DaVinci 5 because it's got some amazing hand controls? No. But does it mean that DaVinci 5 has some massive edge over Ottava? No. But it does mean that anyone who's used the controllers of the DaVinci 5 can easily walk across and get onto the Ottava and be able to use it. So hand controls, much of a much. Now, struggled to actually find any DaVinci 5 heads-up display pictures, but I've got here a screen grab that I've got. Again, woo, amazingly similar, amazingly using the same colours. I don't know, they're just weird how they've almost used the exact same Pantone of blue across the two things. Kind of spooky, really. So obviously either they've used the same design house or they've all gone and looked at something on some kind of consumer product and looked at the same one and decided that was the way the menu looks best. Or there's some human factors group out there that's worked out this is the best colour of blue to have, but it looks uncannily like it. Now, what you see on this heads-up display is that you've got your off-screen system there, and I know that Intuitive has one, but it's not activated here because both instruments are on screen. You can see your instruments, you can see your instruments, you can see your tissue, you can see your tissue. Ignore the lighting, it's not the view of the view of the view. The lighting is just what it was. Please don't compare the images and say, oh, that's a better image or not. That's not what I'm showing here. Come down here, you have your main instrument controls. So left hand is illuminated in blue on arm 1. Oh, left hand illuminated in blue on arm 2 on this one. You have a scope indicator in the middle here and a scope indicator in the middle. Tells you it's an arm 2 here, tells you it's an arm 3 here. You have a horizon. You have a horizon, so you know you're off a horizon. You have whether it's 0 degree or 30 degrees, 0 degree or 30 degree, whether it's up or it's down, whether it's up or it's down. I mean, it's sort of identical. One's a bit more round on the Ottava. And then you've got your right hand indicator with your right hand instrument. It gives you some indications of the instrument, tells you a little bit about the instrument, the grip type that it is. And then you've got your non-used instrument sitting here, and they've got their non-active instrument used. Non-active instrument here that goes off and grade, and that goes off and grade. Wow, virtually nothing you can put between them. I mean, it's almost identical, almost uncannily identical. The one thing they do have here on the Ottava is this, which I think is quite nice, is this arm indicator that tells you the active arms, the inactive arm, and the camera. Sort of almost like a stadium view where you can see where they are in real time. That is quite interesting, quite nice. Can't put much between them. So again, on the consoles, I think, you could be mistaken for actually getting confused which one you're on. Does that mean that Ottava's come up with some amazing heads-up display or user interface that's just going to wipe out the competition? No, it's basically standard fare. But what that does mean is it makes it easier to jump across. And maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe they just wanted to say, we want to make it as easy to jump from a davinci as possible so that we don't have any learning curve of having to use our console. And I don't believe they will, even down to the foot pedals. Right now, we'll say that Ottava has one extra pedal here for some kind of function. Don't know what that is yet, but there is a function pedal here. They both have a sort of, you can have cut and coag, or you could assign different things to this, but you have cut and coag for your right instruments, you have cut and coag for your left instruments, you have a side kicker here, and I know there's one on the Ottava in here. That is just where you decide your instrument, and when you kick it, it flicks your arm between active and inactive between the instruments, so it just cycles through the instruments. Then you have a camera clutch here, so when you press this, your two hands become the controller of the camera. Very familiar. And there's an instrument clutch up there, which means that if you click that, rather than using your fingers to instrument clutch, it will clutch both instruments at the same time, and you can reposition your hands. About the same. Looks like the trays both move in and out the same. They wheel around the same. They probably lock in a similar way. Can't put much between them from size. Can't put much between them from height. Again, really similar. So if you look at it overall from a console perspective, they are amazingly similar. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You definitely can't turn around and say we've got something super innovative and cool and new as Ottava. But then again, what you can say is if you can use the davinci 5, you can use this. The one difference between the two at the minute from functionality really is the force feedback is turned on the davinci 5. And I imagine it will soon get turned on the Ottava. That is it, my friends. There is not a great deal of difference between them. So coming back to the question, is Ottava the slayer of davinci 5 from a console point of view? Absolutely not. No way. Does it mean, though, that a davinci 5 user could easily get on an Ottava console? I think so. And that makes it easier because I've dealt with consoles where you've got to go through a whole relearning. I think on this, you can use one, you can use the other. Of course, it's going to feel a little bit different. The image will be a little bit different. Sensation will be a little bit different. But generally, if you can drive one, you can drive the other. That's it for now, and I'll leave it there. And next one will be for the bedside units. That's it for now. Please do like and subscribe and keep following. Hit the notification bell because I'm going to be dropping lots more videos like this, and I'm going to compare to many other systems. You're going to get a lot of information, and if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, it will tell you on your feed, and you don't have to wait and hope you find this by luck. And the liking of this video really helps me and helps my channel and pushes it out further and just helps me to get the news out there. So please like and subscribe and look out for the next one.